When conversation turns to wrestlers who never won the WWF Championship but really should have, Owen Hart is a name that pops up frequently. A hybrid wrestler that combined high-flying moves with natural technical skills, Owen Hart was also an incredibly entertaining heel, especially highlighted when he feuded against his big brother Bret. Contrary to what many believe, Owen didn't get his start wrestling for his father's Stampede promotion. Owen had worked under a mask as the original British Bulldog and also as Bronco Owen Hart in England. After these runs were unsuccessful, Owen travelled back to Calgary to get more training from his father, and then he began to work in Stampede. During his early years, Owen Hart could also be seen on UK TV as he worked for Max Crabtree, whose promotions matches were aired on World of Sport on ITV. 1986 was a good year for Owen, capturing tag team gold in Stampede Wrestling and entering into a feud with Dynamite Kid that revived the promotion for a while. In 1987, Owen would get honoured as the PWI Rookie of the Year due to his in-ring work in Stampede and also because of a successful run in New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he held the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship for 1 month. Owen was the first non-Japanese competitor to win this title. Being a hot young talent meant that Vince McMahon's WWF would come knocking on his door sooner rather than later. Instead of promoting Owen as Bret's young brother, the WWF decided to create a superhero gimmick for Owen which played to his high-flying style, first known as the Blue Angel and then as the Blue Blazer. The Blue Blazer's pay-per-view debut was at Survivor Series in 1988, where he was on the Ultimate Warriors team in a traditional Survivor Series match. He remained in the mid-card afterwards, going on to suffer a loss to Mr. Perfect at WrestleMania 5 in 1989 in a brief but entertaining match. That same year, Owen left the WWE and would not return until 1991. During this period away from Vince McMahon, he returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling for a brief stay and also went back to Stampede during its final dying days. Owen also dropped the Blue Blazer gimmick before returning to Vince McMahon and the WWF. Before going back to the WWF, however, Owen worked a few matches with WCW and was very close to signing a contract with the company. Owen didn't want to move his family to Atlanta, so instead he decided to go to Vince McMahon once again. Upon his return, Owen was teamed up with Jim Neidhart, creating the new Foundation tag team. Their only pay-per-view match was at the Royal Rumble in 1992, where they defeated the Orient Express. Jim was then let go from the WWE. You can learn more about this in my Jim Neidhart video, but this left Owen on a short singles run before eventually teaming up with Koko B. Ware to form the High Energy tag team. Again, this team only had one pay-per-view appearance at Survivor Series in 1992, and the team would quickly break up afterwards. This was for the best though, as Owen was about to embark on a storyline that made him a star. Owen would work some matches in the USWA while under his WWF contract, thanks to the partnership Jerry Lawler had with Vince McMahon. Bret Hart was feuding with Lawler in the WWF, and Owen was feuding with Lawler in the USWA. Owen even captured the USWA Championship during his stay there. After returning to the WWF following a knee injury, Owen and Bret were scheduled to team up with Hart brothers Bruce and Keith in a traditional Survivor Series match against Jerry Lawler and his Knights. Jerry Lawler couldn't make it to the pay-per-view, so Shawn Michaels replaced Lawler as the team leader. Things were going well until Owen and Bret inadvertently crashed into each other, causing Owen to be eliminated from the team. Owen confronted Bret after the match, angry and disappointed at how he got eliminated. When walking back up the aisle, Owen got booed heavily, and thus a slow heel turn was created. From this night forward, Owen would always wear similar colours to Bret, coming out in pink and black, wearing the Hitman shades and also performing the sharpshooter as his finish. Before we get to the Royal Rumble in 1994, did you know that Owen Hart won a Royal Rumble match? Just 4 days before the Royal Rumble in 94, a Rumble match was held in Madison Square Garden, which Owen won. The whole show is available online if you care to take a look. For a house show, it isn't bad at all, and it's good to see a show like this that many wouldn't expect to see the light of day. Getting back on track, Bret would try to make amends with his brother, and they even got a tag title shot at the 1994 Rumble pay-per-view. The referee had to stop the match due to a kayfabe knee injury suffered by Bret. Owen attacked Bret after the match and berated him on the big screen. The heel turn had now been completed. Owen blamed Bret for holding him down, and he was now out to prove that he was the best Hart brother in the WWF. Despite Bret's attempts to avoid a match against his younger brother, a match that would tear the Hart family apart, he had no choice and had to take the bout against Owen at WrestleMania 10. That match, one of the most anticipated on the card, would be a legitimate 5-star classic, won by Owen in what was considered a major upset at the time. This match by far is my favourite Owen Hart match, and also my favourite opening match to any WrestleMania. The fact that Owen cleanly pinned the more popular Bret was the icing on the cake. Bret went on to win the WWF Championship on the same night, but Owen came walking down the aisle afterwards, disgusted that even though he defeated Bret earlier, his big brother still became the champion. Riding a wave of momentum coming out of the biggest win of his career, Owen would enter the King of the Ring that year and win the tournament. He defeated Tatanka, the 1-2-3 Kid, and finally Razor Ramon in the finals with the help of former partner and family member Jim Neidhart. His coronation speech was awesome as he proclaimed himself to be the King of Hearts. The King of the Ring win was enough to get Owen a title shot against brother Bret. This time it would be held in a steel cage at SummerSlam 1994. Another amazing match which I feel sometimes is overlooked. Owen and Bret once again tore it up, but this time Owen fell short and Bret got the win. This match later received a 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer. Bret and Owen had a lumberjack match soon after where Owen won the match and very briefly held the WWF Championship in his hands. The match was ordered to restart though, and Bret ended up getting the official win. For that one moment though, we got a glimpse of how the crowd and Owen would react if he ever did win the big one. At Survivor Series in 1994, Bret defended his WWF Championship against Bob Backlund. Owen would cost Bret the title when he talked their mother Helen into throwing in the towel, effectively causing the match to stop and Backlund to be awarded the WWF Championship. Owen also helped in making sure Bret wouldn't regain the title at the 1995 Royal Rumble. The two had a few matches afterwards on the house show circuit and also on TV, but Bret would win the majority of these matches. Owen would then go on to WrestleMania 11 and capture the tag titles along with his mystery partner Yokozuna, which in turn led to Owen Hart acquiring the managerial services of Mr. Fuji and Jim Cornette. The pair would eventually lose the titles to Shawn Michaels and Diesel later in the year, but during this period, Davey Boy Smith would turn heel and also join Camp Cornette. Owen and the Bulldog would become a regular tag team and they found a fair amount of success. Going into 1996, Owen and Bulldog would remain tag partners. He picked up a Slammy Award for knocking out Shawn Michaels earlier in the year, and Owen would make sure everyone remembered the honour bestowed on him, now calling himself the Slammy Award winning Owen Hart. Owen would also memorably fake an arm injury, which led to him wearing a cast, which he would use to get the upper hand on his enemies. He blamed this injury as the reason why he couldn't compete in the 1996 King of the Ring, and instead he took the commentary on this night. This is one of the highlights of the show, along with Steve Austin getting crowned as the tournament winner. Owen was hilarious as he cheered for his buddies in Camp Cornette and ripped into the baby faces. It appeared that cracks were beginning to form in the Owen and Bulldog partnership. This eventually led to Owen facing Davey Boy Smith in the finals of the European title tournament. The two worked against each other to crown the first ever WWF European champion in Germany. The match was fantastic, but Owen came up short on the night. The troubles between Bulldog and Owen continued, and it took Big Brother Bret to hit the ring and stop the partners from fighting. Bret had turned heel, and he managed to not only stop Davey and Owen from fighting, but he also brought the whole Hart family together. Soon Jim Neidhart and family friend Brian Pillman would join the trio, and the Hart Foundation was formed. The Hart Foundation would go on to be the biggest heel faction in the WWF during 1997, and this time period was memorable for Owen indeed. Owen began his tenure in the Hart Foundation by capturing his first singles title during his WWF years, the Intercontinental title. He defeated Rocky Maivia on Raw and dedicated the win to Hart Foundation leader Bret Hart. Owen was also a tag champion during this period, so he would come to the ring holding his two belts and his two Slammy Awards, looking very pleased with himself. After getting the pinfall win over Steve Austin at the Canadian Stampede 10-man tag match that saw the Hards take on Team America, Owen would enter a feud with Stone Cold that ended in disaster. At SummerSlam, Steve broke his neck during the match when a piledriver went wrong and Austin landed on his head, a scary moment for all involved. Owen also lost the IC title in this match, but the story here was the injury. Although the entire situation was an accident, the WWF decided to make it part of the storyline as Owen began wearing a t-shirt saying, "Owen 316, I just broke your neck." Owen won a tournament to crown a new IC champion, but Austin helped him win as Austin wanted to take the belt off Owen for a second time and get revenge. The match would happen at the 1997 Survivor Series, the same night the Montreal Screwjob went down. Owen lost his match and Bret left the WWE along with Davey Boy Smith and Jim Neidhart, who were granted quick releases from their contracts to jump to WCW. This left Owen as the only Hart family member remaining in the WWF as Vince McMahon refused to let him out of his contract. It was also revealed by Bret Hart that Eric Bischoff refused to match Owen's WWF contract in financial terms. This, I feel, was the perfect time to give Owen the big push to the WWF Championship, and it seemed for a moment there was a chance. 1 month later, Shawn Michaels battled Ken Shamrock in the main event for the WWF Championship at In Your House D-Generation X. After the match, Owen Hart appeared from nowhere and laid in the punches to the WWF Champion HBK, seeking revenge for the Montreal incident as the crowd erupted. What better way to turn a negative into a positive by having Owen Hart, now renamed the Black Heart, win the WWF Championship, especially after the way Bret left the company. There was endless storyline possibilities here, and it seemed for a moment that Owen was going to get the career-changing push to the WWF Championship that he had so rightfully deserved. The program of Shawn Michaels got pissed away in a main event on Raw, and Owen entered into a feud with Triple H, who he jobbed to frequently. Shawn referred to Owen as a nugget that just wouldn't flush away no matter how hard you tried. This in turn led fans to referring to Owen as the Nugget during the remainder of his career. Triple H caused Owen to get eliminated in the 1998 Royal Rumble, and subsequently Hunter beat Owen at WrestleMania that year. Owen did, however, briefly capture the European title during this time, but he didn't defeat the champion Triple H to capture the gold. Instead, he defeated Goldust, who was dressed up as Hunter. And who did Owen drop the title to? You guessed it, Triple H. It seemed like Owen Hart simply was not allowed to get a clean win over Shawn Michaels or Triple H, which is a very telling situation of what Owen was putting up with during this time period. Enough was enough, and it was time for a change. Owen Hart joined the Nation of Domination. I have covered this in my Nation video, but to recap, a lot of people felt Owen was misplaced in the Nation, but I liked the idea. It gave Owen a new purpose and let us see another side to his personality. During his time in the Nation, Owen mainly feuded with DX and Ken Shamrock, the latter resulting in 2 very entertaining gimmick matches, a match held in Stu Hart's basement, and a special Lions Den match. Owen Hart remained with the Nation throughout much of 1998 until the stable slowly dissolved. After SummerSlam, he teamed with Jeff Jarrett. During this time, a storyline was proposed that Hart was supposed to have an on-screen affair with Jeff Jarrett's manager Deborah, something which Owen refused to do and turned down. While teaming with Jeff Jarrett, the Blue Blazer returned to the company, Owen's old persona from his WWF debut all those years ago. The Blue Blazer tried to hide his identity, but everyone knew it was Owen. To prove it wasn't him though, sketches were set up where Owen would be in the ring with the Blue Blazer at the same time, played by Jeff Jarrett, or sometimes Owen's old tag team partner Koko B. Ware. Around this time, Owen and Jeff captured the WWF tag titles, and Owen competed in his last WrestleMania at WrestleMania 15, where he and Jarrett defeated Test and D'Lo Brown. Owen and Jeff would drop the tag titles to Kane and X-Pac on Raw shortly afterwards, but the Blue Blazer would still make sporadic appearances. At Over the Edge in 1999, Owen Hart had been scheduled to work as the Blue Blazer and descend on a cable to the ring during his entrance, a stunt that he had reluctantly done before. While the arena was darkened during the airing of a video package before his match, Owen's harness accidentally released, sending Owen plunging 78 feet into the ring. Owen died on this night due to this fall. Owen is remembered as an excellent in-ring performer, blending aerial offense and technical wrestling. Stories would also come out of how Owen was a great practical joker backstage, always fun to be around, and no one had a bad thing to say about the man. We unfortunately haven't seen Owen get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame due to his wife's wishes of keeping his legacy blocked to the WWE due to the accident that took his life at Over the Edge in '99.